Hey guys! So in this video you and I are going to get a little bit philosophical and we are going to talk about elegant code. So let's get into it. Now, this is one of the few things in software development that makes people, or at least programmers, the most happy or glad, you call it whatever you want. This is what people get excited about. People feel good about this. At least the people that I've worked with and I've seen. Writing a beautiful piece of software or being able to use your engineering expertise in such a way that the thing that you produce feels elegant makes you feel happy. At least it does for me, and I know for a fact that this is true for a lot of developers. And some developers will actually go the extra mile to make sure that whenever they produce software that there's always an elegant solution as much as humanly possible. But what I want to touch on in this video is, I suppose, the reason why you're doing this, and maybe give you some food for thought. The reason why I argue most people do this, and this comes down to values basically. As I said earlier, it makes you feel happy, and I think that that's why most people try to strive for elegant solutions. You feel good when you feel that the solution that you have created is mentally satisfying, and that's of course that's a very fussy term. And it's very individual, but if you work long enough in the industry, you will start feeling you get a feel for these things. You get a feel for what's in the community, what is a nice way of solving this sort of problem. It's a really, as I said, it's a really fussy thing. And I'm sorry for the juniors out there. It's just that you will get to a point where, first, what's going to happen is that you're just going to struggle with getting the code correct. Next thing that's going to happen is that you are going to become a philosopher when you start feeling secure in your own coding skills. And that's usually where people get almost too focused on writing really high quality software, and they try to write things as perfectly as possible, and they use all these fancy programming patterns and yada yada yada, and then you will become what my favorite, what the best, it was MPA who's actually said this term first, at least when I heard it first, which is the pragmatic master, which is it's a great term to describe kind of the end of your personal progression. So you start as the junior, then you become the philosopher, and then you become the pragmatic master. And the pragmatic master is where most of the seniors out there are. But even the seniors, although they may not want to admit it, catch themselves trying to make a solution elegant. Now, why are you making this solution elegant? Just the other day, I had a discussion with one of my colleagues where he virtually said he had kind of encountered a situation where he couldn't make an elegant solution. It made him feel really bad. He had this issue, rather he was forced to write a really ugly piece of software in order to solve the problem or to basically deliver the story that he was working on. And we had a fairly big discussion about this, where he was suggesting that we made a change that would have basically it would have made the implementation a little bit nicer. But in the grand scheme of things, it would have also pushed the release date forward by a few days, and it would have meant a lot of risk taking. Now we are working in a typed language, and refactoring is fairly safe, but had it been in JavaScript, it would have been really even more risk. But basically the suggestion that he had, or the desire that he had to write that elegant piece of software that he wanted to be able to write, had more to do with his emotions than anything else. And that's what I want to address here. Why are you trying to write elegant software? Well, I would argue that if most of you, and me included sometimes, write it because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you did a good job. But if we really go down into depth about what's good about nice code, is that, and I will argue, it's all about time. What do I mean by time? Well, I mean that if you manage to create an elegant solution that is easy to understand, easy to maintain, and so forth, that means that that solution in general is quick to implement, and since it's easy to maintain and doesn't cause any bugs, it doesn't cost any more time than what the initial cost of actually creating said solution. Usually the problem with ugly code is that when you create ugly code, the time invested into that piece of software is higher. Ugly code usually takes longer to write, well, not always. If you're hacking something together to kind of just to save time, absolutely. But if you look at it from a maintenance perspective, when something it doesn't scale well or something is hard to maintain, there's more time invested. If the software is really ugly and it causes a lot of issues and bugs whenever you want to change it, that's more time wasted. So time, I will argue, is the biggest factor that should be the thing that you're thinking about when you try to go for high quality software. That should be your focus, but I argue that it's not. I think that is because you feel good. And in this instance with my colleague, I understood him all too well because I could see I saw the function that he was writing, and I saw that, wow, this would have been so much nicer for me emotionally and for him emotionally if we had these circumstances, or if we made a change to the model in this situation. But this is where I'd like to think that I have grown a little bit as a person. A few years ago, I would have said to him, yeah, we should go for high quality, always write elegant code. And I would have said, let's refactor that damn thing. And we would have spent several days doing so. But today, or at least at that, like the other day, when I was faced with this situation yet again, as I have faced it 100 times before, I realized that the time cost and the impact of writing good, really nice, good, solid code in this instance, or elegant code, if you will, is actually higher than the cost of doing it is actually higher than simply using something that is less elegant, because it was not a discussion about if we should add tech depth and hack it together and make it really, really messy. It was more about how elegant could we make it. Had we gone with what we emotionally wanted to do, the code would have been flawless, absolutely perfect, an engineering masterpiece. And the solution we went with was not really nice. It looked kind of ugly. It worked, everybody understood it, it didn't cause any issues, and it saved us a lot of time in doing so. And this is what I want you, or rather this is what I argue. When you're writing your software, you should be more focused on asking questions such as, is this maintainable? How long is it going to take? Does it cause any risk for me to do this? Emotionally, you should distance yourself, because it's not about emotions, it's about being pragmatic and being objective about the software that you're writing. And this is very tricky, because you do get emotionally invested in the software that you write. I see a lot of people getting invested, but I argue that the real thing that you should have in the back of your head is to write code that is good. Not elegant, just good, because you're not an artist, you're a craftsman. And just as people who work at Volvo or Volkswagen or so forth and work on these everyday cars that I'm walking around, all the cars that are around me, these are not flawless pieces of art. But you can trust that the people who built and designed these cars have the same type of emotions that you do as a software engineer. But they have to produce the car. The car was not designed to be a flawless piece of art. If it was, it would have been made by Ferrari, for example. And that's what I want to leave you with. Don't focus so much on writing elegant, perfect code. Just always ask the question, is this code good? Because if it's good, then you don't have a problem. You don't have to make it perfect every single time. Have a great day.